Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Mernal, I meant to call you before, but hi. On your PowerPoint, you had said there's a part in your PowerPoint that talks about a lease structure, but then we do a purchase and sale structure.
Yeah, I fixed that. We were having
Okay, good.
Issues with our system saving changes. So I talked to Justin about that this morning. So I have the correct terminology in there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Also, we've never talked about this, but you guys, Mernal used to work with my firm for a hot minute when I was with Lewis. So I think we had like one deal and then I think you left.
I did.
A small world.
We have both moved on to other places. And were you at BBK before and then you came to Lewis and you went back? Is that what it was?
I did, yeah. I actually took a little bit of time off too. I have the weirdest path and journey. But my husband got a fellowship out in DC. And so it was at the time where the market completely crashed. So public finance was not doing so well. I decided just to take that time off and take a few years off and enjoy it with my son. Was young back then. And then, one of our other partners joined Lewis, Kyle Snow. And when he was leaving, he called me and said, hey, do you want to re-enter the workspace? And which I think is just amazing to be off for 3 years and have somebody offer to give you a position. So then I came back. So,
gotcha. Oh,
yeah.
Good. Well, my colleague Nicole Witt, I don't think you've met. She's on here. She's going to be sitting in as general counsel. She's our assistant general counsel. She'll be sitting in tomorrow night at the board meeting. And so I wanted to give her the opportunity to see our finance committee. And she's also pretty involved in the NG project on the design build side. So Mernal, Nicole, Mernal.
Nice meeting you, Nicole.
Nice meeting you too.
I love that we're recording and we're live and we're just visiting.
Yeah.
So.
We haven't started our meeting. We're waiting for one other, our chair. Be joining us shortly. We have a larger attendee list on our committee meeting this time around than normal.
Oh, there's Director Weiner.
Hello, Director Weiner. Wait a few more minutes.
I was chewing, didn't want to do that in a meeting. I just got a message from our chair. My computer froze, was the message. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
We're make sure he's I think he's coming on right now. So it's looks like he.
Yeah, I think during my last meeting, my entire Wi-Fi internet connection went down. And thankfully, I have 4 different devices, some of which go directly to the internet through the cell phone. So I was able to recover after much running around. Technology, love it.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you all for being here today. I know that we rescheduled the meeting, so thank you all. We are all gathered here, so let's kick it off. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. We'll call to order at 12:03 p.m. We'll start with roll call. So Director Weiner.
I am here.
Thank you. And Chair Cepeda.
Here.
Thank you. Next item, public comment. I did not receive any public comment, any written comment, and I do not see any attendees on our list. Next item, matters from staff and general manager. The first item is presentation, receive a presentation on the bond issuance process.
All right, Chair Cepeda and Director Weiner, Justin Lovell, Director of Administrative Services. I'll just go ahead and kick this off. We've got, we have several members of our bond financing team here with us. It's going to give a presentation to talk a little bit more about the steps that we as a district need to take to issue bonds. So I do want to present Mrinal Shah. She is with our bond counsels with BB&K, which is Best and Krieger, as well as Christian Sprunger. He's been on a couple other board meetings. He is with NHA, so he's our financial advisor. We also have Craig Hill with NHA advisors also on the line as well. So we have, they should be able to answer any of your questions, because this is new for all of us here, on the staff side, going down this path to finance some of our capital projects. So I'll kick it over to Mrinal, and she can go through her presentation. And
Sure.
Mrinal, do you want me to share my screen? Or
I
you
can-
okay, go? Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to share my screen. So let's. Okay, let me put it on full view mode. There we go. So the legal structure that's contemplated in the financing is to form a joint powers authority, which would be the entity that issues the bonds. And the district would enter into installment purchase agreement, which would repay the bonds. The joint power exercise of powers agreement will be between an organization called California Statewide Development Communities Authority. CSCDA is the acronym. They are a financing authority that's a joint powers authority. And also the district would be the second member. It's contemplated that a new joint powers authority would be formed. The membership would consist of those two parties. The offices would be the employees and appointed officials of the district and elected officials of the district. So the chair would be the president, the vice chair would be the vice president, the executive director would be the district's general manager, the secretary would be the clerk of the board, and then the treasurer would be the director of administrative services. The Joint Powers Authority is a separate entity, legal entity. So its budget and its funds would be separate and aside from the district's funds. There are a number of powers that joint powers authorities have. There's the broader authority of having any power that's common to all parties. And then they also have expressed statutory authority, which includes the issuance of revenue bonds. The agreement can terminate at any time. However, either the district would have to pay off its financing, or there would have to be another member added to the joint powers agreement, which would allow for the entity to continue, because essentially if one member drops off and there are just two members, there's no authority that exists anymore. Does anybody?
Mrinal, can I interrupt real quickly? I just want to make sure our directors understand, when we do bond financing, as a special district, we normally, if we were going to issue bonds in a normal way, we'd actually have to go to the voters. And there's a relatively complex process to issue bonds directly. The legislature has given us this fantastic gift called Marks-Ruse bonds. And that's the type of bond financing we're looking at right now. Marks-Ruse bonds require us to work through this thing, this joint powers authority. And we call it conduit financing, because we basically finance our project through the conduit of this joint powers authority. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of extra background, and that's why we're talking about this JPA, because it's really this vehicle that we have been given the power to use through these Marks-Ruse bonds in order to finance our capital facilities. And so we're talking about this because at the board meeting next week, or is it tomorrow? I'm
Tomorrow.
sorry, tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be asking the board to approve the creation of this joint powers authority in order to facilitate the issuance of the bonds to pay for the ESCO or NG project and some other related projects. So I just wanted to make sure that the directors were clear that that's the background that we're coming up against, and Mernal is our expert on how we structure the joint powers authority and then how we structure those bonds to comply with law so we can do this debt issuance.
Yeah.
Is that
So,
fair, Mernal?
That's fair. So that's what the slide is about, is the debt limitation. So
Well, let me, I see that Director Weiner has his hand.
Okay.
Maybe we can
Yeah.
get time to ask questions as we're going along.
Yeah, and Justin, if we can maybe, and Director Reno, give it 1 second. If we can maybe, because this is going to be a big topic tomorrow,
Sure.
and we have, less than 24 hours or so
Right.
for us to make a determination. So maybe we can go slide by slide, and I know we can't be here the whole day, but we're going to try to be succinct with our questions. But if we can kind of take questions as we go along. So Director Weiner, I know that you had some questions there, so go for it.
Yeah, I totally am not understanding all of this. There wasn't enough information in the PowerPoint for me to even get my head around it.
okay.
So let's see. So in discussion of generating bonds, we were given PowerPoints that described all of the consulting entities we would need to do this. And they generally cost money, and they would be a part of the bonds. They would get a certain percentage of the bond money up front for all of their help. But we didn't talk about this California agency. And I looked it up, and my big concern was that it was something like Federal Home Loan Bank, where it pretends to be a governmental agency, but it's a private agency, and or was a private agency until it destroyed the economy. So I think it's still around. But anyway, I worked for them and understood that how they were formed. So now I'm not concerned that this is a private-public partnership, that this is actually an agency that's a child of governance. And but I'm not sure, like, are we going to save money by doing this? Is there going to be a reduction in the number of consultants that we need, since we have this joint powers and we're working with this agency? Is this agency merely a legal cover? Or, what I mean is that
Yeah.
it doesn't do anything. It just facilitates the ability to do bonds, but we're going to do bonds the way you normally do bonds. I mean, that's the kind of thing I don't understand.
So let me take a step back. The way that any public agency is authorized to issue bonds is through the powers that are given to them under statute. In order for the district to directly issue water revenue bonds, you would have to go out to a vote of the electorate within your jurisdiction. However, there are certain other powers that the district has, which includes the power to enter into agreements, the power to lease. There are a number of other items that you can do. Joint exercise of power authorities do have the power to issue bonds directly through the Marks-Roos Act. And so this structure is the way that you could issue bonds by entering into a joint powers agreement with another entity. And then the district's obligation, which I'll describe in later slides is that it enters into an installment purchase agreement with the authority, and you've pledged net revenues of the wastewater system that will repay the money that the authority is basically providing to acquire the improvements being constructed.
So
Yeah, it said that in the PowerPoint.
Okay.
So I kind of understand that part of it. What I don't understand is, does this agency do anything? I'm not talking about the joint powers. I'm talking about the agency with which we are going to become partners. Does it do anything? Does it have people who will do something? Or is it merely a vehicle by which we can issue bonds, but we have to do all the work?
It's the latter.
So we still there, and do we have to, do they get any benefit from being this agency? Like, for example, do they get points? Do they get, do they get points?
let me answer that a little bit. The CSCDA was created, I believe, by CSAC, the California State Association of Counties, and the California League of Cities in order to provide a legal structure to create conduit financing for its member agencies. So this organization was created for the mere purpose of creating these opportunities to finance debt for public agencies. That's why it exists. And so it has a good purpose, and it's made to do exactly what we're doing. And there are actually other, and Mernal, you know more about this than I do, but there are other organizations that do the same thing in the state of California. We do pay an accommodation fee in order, that may not be what it's called here, but we do pay a fee in order to facilitate CSCDA's continual compliance with, with its laws, and it's facilitating these types of financings. But this is a common structure for us for us, meaning public agencies in general, if they don't already have an existing joint powers authority in order to issue debt. And the savings, the savings here are, you essentially have two choices as a public agency. You can either operate under going out to the voters in order to issue debt through that bonding process, or you can do it through this joint powers authority process, the Marks-Ruse bonds that Mernal was talking about. And so in evaluating our options with Christian and Craig and the others at NHA, the financial advisor advises this was the most, efficient, it's the lowest cost, legally compliant opportunity for the district to issue debt. Basically, it's just another way of saying take a loan, right? And so bonding is how we take loans in the public world. Is we issue these bonds, people give us their money, we repay it with interest. And right now is a really favorable interest environment for us to do it. But in order, the legal mechanism for us to do it is either to go to the voters or do it through a joint powers authority. Those are really our only two choices. And this partner is a partner that was recommended to us by our bond counsel.
And we did look into other entities, California Municipal Financing Authority, and they charge more money than a CSCDA does. So we did do a bit of comparison shopping as well.
Okay, it was very confusing.
And Director,
and it's not the bond, it's not what a bond is, or what a bond does, or the fact that we need some money. That's the issue. It was this thing, which I've never come across in my life, and just seemed pretty weird. So now I understand that it's a legal vehicle, so that we don't have to go to the voters, which is a very costly process and an iffy process. At least we will be assured that we can finance our needs. So that's what I've gotten out of the discussion so far.
So Director Wiener, really great questions, and thank you for bringing that up. So team, if we can update the presentation for tomorrow to start off with that. So we use this time here for us to learn and be able to give the greater board our recommendation, but as we're presenting, we also want to give tidbits of how to make the presentation better. So tomorrow's meeting runs a lot smoother. We want to hash it all out. So if we can put some at the top, what this is, their website has a really good, what are we? So the CSCDA about page talks about when they were created. It was by CSDA and the California League of Cities, and kind of the whys. Other points that were made by Director Wiener and through this as well. The fees, right? It's good to put that up front. We went out to others. We ended up with this one. So we know as directors that we've done or you guys have done the due diligence, right? Due diligence done. This was the best. This was the recommended. This is what it's going to do. Our two options, if we list them there, option one, we go to the voters, chance of getting it approved, very low. We go this way, we'll have everything approved a lot easier. Right, so we can just check those off because those are really good questions, Director Wiener. And also, if we can call out what CSCDA stands for. I know that in one of the next pages we have that, but it's just the acronym. And yes, we can go Google it, but some directors might not. So,
Sure, we can make all of those modifications.
Thank you. All right, Director Wiener, any other questions on the first page here?
No, I just, I did Google CSDA more than once and tried to read about it, but it didn't, I didn't get the concept of it from its about page. So this was very helpful. And I agree with you that we need to put that before the board.
I have no questions so far. Director Wiener has asked what I had in mind as well, so I think we can go on to the next page.
Okay, I think we covered this page, which was the background as to why we needed to finance this way and the options. And then I think we went over this page as well, but I can go over it in additional detail if you'd like. Basically, the financing authority is the one issuing the bonds. They'll receive the funds, which will be held in trust. The authority, pursuant to an agency agreement, will appoint the district as its agent to acquire the improvements, and then the district makes installment payments to acquire the improvements from the authority, which then are used to repay the bonds. And the source of the revenues are net wastewater revenues, meaning gross revenues of the system less operation and maintenance costs. Any questions on this slide?
Director Wiener?
Is it a joint agreement that establishes the repayment period? Or is that done by them?
No, it is done in consultation with the district and the municipal advisor. And basically, it's financially modeled using the net revenues for the life of the term. And then the district will work with Christian and his team to determine what the best term would be, and where the district is able to make the payments and how to structure it so it's the most cost effective. So the district retains control over that and the selection of the term.
And then can you speak a little bit about how the decision-making process works? You were saying that we established a JPA with CSCDA and then the president and vice president of the board.
But let me stop you right there. So basically what happens is we're forming this joint powers authority. And the board of the district is essentially going to also be the board of the Joint Powers Authority, okay? And so the president of our board is going to be the president of the JPA. So we're going to have this parallel path. And in fact, our JPA meetings are going to happen at the same time as our board meetings, okay? So we'll have one agenda for the board, we'll have one agenda for the JPA. And then a lot of this is a legal structural approach so that we can issue the bonds, or the authority can issue the bonds, and then we're essentially buying back the facility through these installment payments, just like when you pay a mortgage, right? You pay the bank, you're paying principal and interest, and ultimately you get the deed back to your house, right? That's kind of what we're doing with these improvements. And we're guaranteeing we're going to pay that out of these net revenues. But we're basically, the board and the JPA are going to be more or less parallel entities.
Does the agency, because I keep getting the names wrong, does the agency, that CSCDA, do they also have a vote? And do they have 1 vote, 0 votes, or what?
They don't have a vote because the board of directors of the district is the board for the authority.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. No, I have no other questions there.
And so we will be coming back to you in August with the legal documents, but I wanted to provide a brief overview so you were familiar with the documents that you will be seeing. The installment purchase agreement is just what its name says. It's between the authority, the financing authority that's being created, and the district, whereby the district agrees to acquire the improvements by making the installment payments. The agency agreement is where the financing authority agrees to have the district be its agent in the acquisition of the improvements. The indenture of trust is between a trustee and the financing authority, and that governs the terms and conditions of the issuance of the bonds. It will also set forth all of the different funds and accounts that will be held by the trustee, and the terms and conditions for the release of monies from those accounts. It is where all of the installment payments will be deposited to make the payments on the bonds as well. The official statement is the disclosure. Questions on that? Director Weiner? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I said some brilliant things. The trustee, is that another party?
It is another party. It's a third party. It's a bank. Christian, I don't know if there's been a trustee selected yet.
There has, yes. US Bank has been selected. They were selected through an RFP process.
Okay. So US Bank will be the trustee under the indenture of trust. And typically it's a national bank that would serve as the trustee. The official statement is the disclosure statement.
Renaud,
Uh-huh.
sorry, can you just maybe define kind of what a trustee's role at a real high level, like what they're doing? They're obviously holding the bond funds while the project is being built, and will be paying the vendor, but
And
they're also the intermediary with the investors.
right. So they are there as a beneficiary for the owner of the bonds. So they enforce the terms and conditions of the indenture of trust. So if there's a default under the indenture, it would be the trustee that would, bring that to the attention to the bond owners and to the district and the financing authority as well, and enter into negotiations. With the official statement, as I said, this is the disclosure document. This is what investors are going to take a look at to see whether or not they want to invest in the bonds. It has to be a complete disclosure of any items that are material to the financing. So the Justin has been working with us to provide information about the district, its revenue sources, its operating agreements, and basically any items that an investor would deem important. It will also contain information regarding the terms and conditions set forth in both the installment purchase agreement and the indenture of trust, certain covenants that the district is required to abide by, and other information such as the rating of the bonds will be going out to two rating agencies to have them review the creditworthiness of the bonds, and that will be disclosed in the statement as well. There will be a portion that also describes the ongoing disclosure requirements for the district. The district will be required to prepare annual reports that update certain items and information that's contained in the official statement. And if there are statutorily, there are a number of items that need to be disclosed if there's an event of disclosure. And so the district will be responsible for doing that. Typically, public agencies will contract with the party to take care of those requirements.
And Mernal, are we doing a training tomorrow? Is that right? Are we doing the SEC training?
We're not doing
We're not doing that
tomorrow.
Okay.
I do have a webinar that I'm going to share with Justin that I've prepared on the SEC disclosure requirements and the district's responsibilities under that. So I can share that with you as well.
Okay. And directors, I just wanted to point out, so if you guys are familiar with private investing, you've dealt with a prospectus before, the official statement is our version of a prospectus. And I just wanted to show you guys, this is a bond issuance I did earlier this year. It's about this thick. It's got a whole lot of pages. It's a big document. I always call it a bond book, but it's an official statement, and that'll come to you as well for approval. And it's an important thing to read, but these are our disclosures that we're required to do under federal securities law. And so that official statement is really important, and that's why we'll be talking about SEC compliance and making sure that we do all of the appropriate disclosures so that the bond holders know what they're buying, essentially. But that official statement is a lot of work, and a lot goes into really explaining how the district works and how our finances work. So I just wanted to point out that of all these things, the thing that typically the directors read the most, although it's the longest and sometimes people feel is the most boring, is the official statement. So that's what you guys might want to be looking for.
And the last document that will come for your approval is the bond purchase agreement. This sets forth the terms and conditions under which the underwriter who will be underwriting the bonds will purchase the bonds. And that document is prepared by Underwriters Council. I can stop there. Are there any questions?
Any questions, Director Wiener?
Just to repeat what you said, this would be where we'd see the terms and conditions of the loan, right?
The
Bond purchase agreement, I'm sorry.
The bond purchase agreement are the terms and conditions under which the bonds will be purchased, but the real mechanics of the district's obligations will be under the installment purchase agreement, and then the terms of and conditions of the bond will be under the indenture of trust, and all of this will be summarized in the official statement.
Any other questions, Director Wiener?
No, just preparation.
All right. Thank you. Keep going. No questions for me.
Okay. So our final slide is the proposed timeline. As we mentioned before, the joint powers agreement is contemplated to be provided to the board of directors tomorrow for approval, and then CSCDA is scheduled to approve that on August 4th. And then we will be back for another review of the documents once we have the documents in hand and near final with you, this committee in August. And then we're scheduled, I believe, for the August 18th meeting. And then depending on the conditions of the market, we'll be closing sometime in September. The exact date will vary based on what is the optimal conditions for going into the market. So we'll work with Christian and Justin to determine when to go into the market, as well as the underwriter.
Director Weiner, any questions?
Yeah, knowing that past performance is no indication of future earnings, my question is, what is the market like today?
So I'll turn that over to Christian.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Christian Sprunger with NHA Advisors. We are the district's municipal advisor. So the market is characterized by strong demand for municipal bonds. While the district doesn't have a credit rating currently, the district has some very strong metrics, some strong financial metrics. We're also structuring these bonds, hope to structure them and plan to structure them in an optimal manner to maximize the demand for the bonds. So currently the market is characterized by decreasing yields. So a lot of investors are chasing municipal bonds, and the supply is not quite caught up with that demand. So the yields have gone down quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. Again, who knows where that goes in the next month or two, but very strong demand right now for municipal bonds, especially high quality municipal bonds. And so we expect there to be some very strong demand for the district's bonds when it comes time to sell.
Thank you.
Of course.
Some general questions. You had mentioned that this particular group or company here offer the lowest fees. Do we have a compare? And the dual question, did we also go out to RFP? Is that following our agency process? Was it just something that was just known? I want to learn a little bit about that process there.
I don't believe that there was an RFP sent out. There are only a couple of agencies that offer this service. One is California Municipal Financing Authority, which is also a JPA similar to CSCDA, which is designed to assist public agencies with financing improvements and public facilities. They have a similar annual, similar fee. I think it's also $10,000, but they charge an annual ongoing fee for the life of the bonds. And CSCDA has a flat fee.
And a flat. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
So I just wanted to add on, as there were limited options, as we're looking, as we discussed earlier, legally, without going to a vote, we as a district cannot issue our own bonds. And so, in consultation with the bond council and our municipal advisors, we were looking at what is the most cost-effective conduit for us to be able to issue bonds. And so really, we had those two choices, and we decided to go with the CSCDA option.
Thank you, Justin, for that. So maybe we can just give that at the top of the presentation too, just so the other board members have that information there. In regards to the fee, I believe you mentioned $10,000. Is it $10,000 a year or is it $10,000 done?
$10,000 flat fee, and it's payable through the proceeds of the bonds.
Okay, $10,000 compared to the millions of dollars we're going to get seems like pennies on the dot. So I'm okay with that. And then they are the agency for the life of the bond. Do we get to refinance it like we do for our homes later on if we get a better deal or something, or?
You will have the opportunity to refinance as part of the terms and conditions of the pricing of the bonds. There will be an optional call date. So typically this is between 7 to 10 years after the bonds have been issued, as it's a period where after that time you can refinance and at no cost, or sometimes with a premium depending on what the structure is. Typically at the 10-year mark, it is without a premium. So anything earlier, sometimes there's a premium. Say at the 7-year mark, it might be 103% of the price of the outstanding bonds, the par amount of the bonds. But it just depends on what the market is and how to optimally structure this financing. So
Well,
We
thank
are
you.
at pretty historically low rates, though.
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Anything else for the presentation? Oh, Director Wiener, yes.
Yeah, so this call, do the lenders have a call option as well?
I'm not
No.
quite understanding that question.
So at 10 years, you said someone can call for
Oh, it's just
restructuring of the loan. And my question is that someone just us,
yes.
or is it the lenders as well?
No, just you.
Great, because if we get some historically low rates and then rates go up, they might want to, refinance.
They can't do that. And that's in your
Okay,
discretion.
just checking. They got
It's a
all the
good
money,
question.
so you never
Yeah.
know.
That's the risk you take.
That's good news. And so let's see, you said something else. Oh, so I'm not clear on some of the stuff that we've read doesn't make clear whether the loan is like you pay interest periodically, but you owe the full amount at the end, is what impression I got. Is that the way this is going to be structured?
No, they're going to be principal and interest payments semi-annually. And so, Christian, I think we're going to have a capitalized interest period, correct? Or are we starting? Okay.
That's likely. A capitalized interest period is likely, but it will be semi-annual interest with annual principal is most likely structure. And
So
then
there's
Capitalized interest means that the interest is part of the loan?
for a short period on the front end, just during the construction of the facilities is typically how that would be structured.
So that would be similar to a mortgage where you don't start paying principal till after you've gone some way down the line of paying off all your interest. Is that correct?
usually a year or two.
Yes, about a 2-year period is the anticipated period, and that's just during the construction of these improvements and these upgrades.
I see. So once we're done with the construction, then the loan becomes mostly principal, and it becomes a better proportion of principal to interest.
That's correct. We begin repaying principal, and we repay it then for about a period of 28 to 30 years. So we repaid every year.
Okay, thank you. That's more clarity than I've gotten so far. Thank you.
Certainly. My pleasure.
Perfect. Justin, anything else for the presentation?
No, this is the end of our presentation. So we did appreciate the feedback from the committee of how we can make it our presentation hopefully a little more clear. This is complicated. This is new to us. And so it is, again, take some time to be able to explain the legal structures that the district is going to have to enter into and what that means for us to order to issue the bonds. And so we'll work on having something, just a little bit more clear, hopefully, for the rest of the board when we go tomorrow to actually ask for the full approval of the JPA document. So yeah, this is the end of our presentation. So let me know if you have any other questions.
Great, thank you, Justin. Then Director Wiener, what do you think our recommendations should be to the full board tomorrow, based on what you have heard?
Let's see, I'm trying to remember what the agenda is. So tomorrow, it's just approve the JPA. Is that our big ask?
That is correct. That's correct.
Okay, well then, given all the information that I've received today and all the doubts that I've had answered, I recommend we recommend approval.
I agree with you. I think from the two options, this is the best one. So yes. So we can make that as a report tomorrow when we convene our meeting. Bless you, Colin, Ms. Collins.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And I just want to mention, Mernal and I have both done a lot of bonds. And I know that this is new to a lot of you guys. And if you need any, discussions or additional information, we're happy to answer that for you. We're working with experienced underwriters. We're working with experienced parties in forming the JPA and in exercising the issuance. And I think that it's taken me 15 years to figure out most of this stuff. So we don't expect you to learn it overnight. But I do want you to know that you're in good hands with experienced professionals all the way around, and including NHA, I should have mentioned. And I also want to just take this opportunity to identify, because I think you weren't on the call yet, but Chair Zepeda and Director Wiener, Nicole Witt is on the line with us right now. She's Assistant District Counsel for West County, and she's also deeply involved in the NG project in the design build. And so she'll be serving as District Counsel to tomorrow night's meeting. And she also has a lot of background on the NG project, which obviously this is to be the primary funding mechanism for. And that project will be contingent upon the issuance of this financing. So I just wanted to make sure she was introduced, so you knew who she was tomorrow night.
I remember Nicole from when we interviewed you all.
Absolutely. Nice to see you all again.
Good to see you too. Well, thank you for that. I think if we have no other items, we'll give you all back about 10 minutes back into your day there. No other items there? Then Brenda, do you want to bring us to closing?
Sure. Before we do, we do just want to make sure the next item was reports on issues or matters pertaining to the work of the committee. We don't have anything on that. And if not, we can adjourn.
All right, I don't think, Director Wiener, do you have anything?
I have nothing, and I have an appointment at 1 o'clock, so leave us go.
Well, then you all get 10 minutes back into your life. Hopefully you use it for some wellness. Go take a quick walk, hopefully, or get off your computer. So be well, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.